Head Case is the third episode of the first season of Will and Grace. This is, of course, directed by the wonderful James Burrows, and there will be spoilers from now as I talk about the episode. I'm not at the point with Will and Grace yet where I'm going through each scene by scene, as I do with a lot of sitcoms. I'm still just getting to grips with the characters, the types of narratives we're going to be dealing with. So for now, I'm just going to be talking very loosely about what happens and sharing some thoughts. In time, I'm sure I'll talk about things more scene by scene. And we have two parts to the narrative. One is very small, and basically Will is trying to get Jack to look for a job and to kind of narrow down what it is he actually wants to do. I quite like those scenes. We didn't get to see too much of Jack, but we definitely got a nice enough amount of him. The main narrative honestly didn't make me like Grace very much. I have no ill feeling towards Grace. I certainly don't mind her. But with this one, not a huge fan of her approach. It starts off with actually a really great scene with Will and Grace in their own bathrooms. And Will's bathroom is clearly and understandably, since it's his apartment, much bigger than Grace's. Although what I've just said might not be fair. Because with Grace allowed to live there now, I should probably start to think of it as being Will and Grace's apartment, but I think it's too much too soon. Because Grace complains that her bathroom is too small. I have to say, it doesn't look that small. At least for a UK bathroom, it looks like a pretty standard size, but she's not happy. And Will tries to make her happy by going to Bed Bath & Beyond and buying shelves. And to be fair, she made a valid point. Putting the shelves up would just make the space smaller by bringing the walls in. And Grace's plan is to knock through the two bathrooms because they're back to back, they share a wall, and create one big bathroom. And I have several problems with this. One, that means they can't use the bathroom at the same time. Now, granted, we do see them going into each other's bathrooms when they're in the bath and things because they have this admittedly really lovely friendship. But if you have two bathrooms and you create one bathroom, you're kind of defeating the purpose of having two bathrooms, of two places where people can go to the toilet or whatever they want to do at the same time. And by knocking it through, I feel like that's going to just be a really terrible idea, but that's what Grace wants. And the real reason I have an issue with this is that this isn't Grace's property. I could never imagine moving in with somebody and then, I don't know how much time has passed since the previous episode, but obviously not a lot of time. I could never imagine moving in with somebody and then just saying, by the way, thank you for letting me live here, but I don't like my bathroom. I want to knock through it. I could never imagine that. I know she has a close friendship with Will, and that's beautiful. But I didn't love her attitude. And then right at the end, and I'll talk about what happens in a moment, she said a few things that really irritated me. Up until this point, I've had no strong feelings about Grace. I'm not her biggest fan at the moment, but hopefully this is just a one-off and things will change going forward. Because ultimately, Will does decide to agree with this. Is fair enough. He liked the idea of having a big bathroom and Grace really sold it to him and she was coming up with the plans and everything. But then while Will was out, she knocked through and just got started on it. Granted, he'd said yes, but that still is a bold move. And what ultimately happens is Will decides, instead of getting rid of the wall, they're going to just bring the wall forward a bit. So yes, it will make Will's bathroom a little bit smaller, but they can afford that. It's quite a big space. Make his tiny bit smaller, make Grace's a little bit bigger. And that seems like a really sensible solution. So I'm pleased they came to a good resolution there. But I don't like Grace's attitude because Will suggested this after they'd had a big fight and Will was complaining about boundaries being broken and things, which, yeah, I'm on Will's side here. I'm not on Grace's side. But at the end, Will had this idea for bringing the wall forward and Grace told him that he's compromising and is not being controlling anymore. No, Grace, you were being controlling. You were demanding that Will knocks down the bathroom wall in his apartment. So Grace was not a good person in this episode. I feel like, yes, fine, suggest the idea, but she basically demanded it and then controlled the entire situation. So for her to then tell Will, well, praise Will, I guess, for no longer being controlling and for compromising, it's a really disgusting attitude. So I'm hoping this is not Grace going forward. I could see it being the case if she's written as a very headstrong, determined character, but you can be headstrong and determined without being selfish and entitled, which is exactly what she was being. So I'm not a huge fan of this aspect. let's hope it doesn't carry on like that, because I don't want to dislike Grace. I want to enjoy Grace as a character. But for now, I'm very much Team Will. And I don't want to have to pick a side. So we'll see what it's like going forward. I honestly have no idea what's going to happen in future episodes. For some reason, I've managed to go my entire life with basically avoiding all Will and Grace spoilers. Maybe I came across some and obviously they didn't mean anything to me. I'm actually just about to start reading the Will and Grace chapter in James Burrows' book. I'm just about finished reading about Friends. Really fascinating. Really recommend it. I might skip the chapter depending on how likely it would be to have spoilers. We'll see. But for now, all I can say is that this wasn't my favourite episode of Will and Grace. Granted, I'm 3 episodes in. Headcase is interesting enough, and I did enjoy it. But I didn't enjoy Grace. I didn't think she had the right attitude here. Let's hope that changes going forward. Ultimately, didn't love her in this, but the episode itself wasn't too bad.